What's good, Illini Nation? It's your man, Deon, your man in the middle, Deon Thomas, coming from a different location, as you can check the background. I'm normally in my office, but this time I'm in Piscataway, New Jersey, covering the Fighting Illini tonight. And I have one of the best journalists that I know. I love reading his stuff, both on Twitter and Rivals and everything that he does with the orange and blue news. We got my man, Doug Buchson, joining us today. Hey, what are we going to talk about other than Illini basketball with one of the great journalists of Illini basketball? Doug, thank you for coming out and joining me on Champagne on Ice.
Well, what are we going to talk about with the top scorer in the history of Illinois basketball besides Illinois basketball? So great to be on with you. Thanks so much for having me on, Deon.
Oh, no, it's truly a pleasure. And believe me, I am a man of many worlds after 14 years of traveling throughout Europe and, of course, life at University of Illinois. Got a lot to talk about, but today we have a big game coming up. As you know, this Rutgers team struggled in the beginning. Well, we're looked at in the beginning to be one of the top teams. Then they struggled, and now they've come back out and beat some big teams. And we got the Illini tonight.
Yeah, and they're kind of an odd team. They run hot and cold, but at the rack there where you are, they're 12-2, very tough team to beat. They're a much different team than what Illinois saw last time back in December when they really kind of rolled them at State Farm Center. Geo Baker is back now. He didn't play in that game. They got some help offensively now for Ron Harper Jr., and Mulcahy's playing his best basketball. So, that's kind of a three-headed monster right now. Three options, guys that can score 20-plus points. And it's going to be a tough game, a loud game at the rack. I know you've been there many times, but it's a difficult place to play. And as far as the Big Ten standings go, this is a huge game for Illinois. If they win this game, they have three of their last five at home at State Farm Center. So there'll be a game up on Purdue, game up on Ohio State or Wisconsin rather, and down the stretch they have a favorable schedule. So just a huge monumental game for them tonight in Rutgers.
Oh, you nailed it right on the head. Having Geo Baker back, Geo Baker since his freshman year has been one of the best players in the Big Ten. He suffered with some injuries, but he's a guy that can do it from all three levels. So having him back definitely adds a different feel to this team. But you brought up Paul Mulcahy. This kid has gone back to the Paul Mulcahy from high school, New Jersey high school, where he averaged a triple-double. What do you what do you think has been that turnaround for Mulcahy?
Confidence, I think. Sometimes you've seen him play. He's a very emotional player, kind of wears his emotions on his sleeve. And if things aren't going his way, you can get him rattled and rattle his cage a little bit, and he can get out of sync. But lately, he's been playing great. I think getting Geo Baker back, too, was big for him. So he doesn't always have to be the primary ball handler. He's still their top assist man and one of the top assist guys in the Big Ten. But, they have another guard that can handle the ball. He's so hard to guard because of his size and skill set. He can score shooting from the outside. He can put it on the floor and drive on you. And then he's a great passer who can see the whole court because of his length. So a really tough assignment for whoever is checking him tonight.
Yeah, that you talk about him, and the Orange Crush gave him the business when he was back in Champaign, because he's one of those guys that you hate to play against him, but you love when he's on your team. And that's what he is going to bring to the table again tonight. And, this Rutgers team and what Coach Pikel has done since he's taken over has been great. Let's just say it. I mean, he's made the rack one of the toughest places to play. This is a place with so much history, and he has done nothing but add to that. A big win over Purdue, of course, with a shot by Ron Harper Jr. From half court. And they've just continued to pile on. And they've always been a difficult test for Illinois here at the rack.
Well, they have an identity. They're a physical basketball team. You're going to get knocked around a little bit. Kofi's going to draw a bunch of fouls. But they're a hard-nosed team. They kind of reflect the coach, kind of like Illinois. That's same type of team that Brad Underwood likes to have, a physical team that'll make you know that you're on the court, and that's how they play. You have to match their physicality, and you have to deal with the crowd noise. And I think this Illinois team, because of all the veterans on the team, they've been there and done that. So I think they know how to handle a road game. They've been good on the road and got some big road kills. So so I think that aspect of it, they can handle it. It's just a matter of making shots.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll tell you, I was one of those people at the beginning of the season that was always bullish on this Illinois team. I've had people, well, how good do you think this team can be? I had Brian Barnhart this year was my first guest, and we kind of meshed this team to look like a combination of the 01, 05, and 89 Illini teams. And I think this is what you get, because you have Kofi Cockburn, which no one has ever had at the University of Illinois. Unique offensive player, unique size that we've ever had at Illinois. And then you add the length and the athleticism of this team, the shooting ability, the depth of this bench. Would you agree with the meshing of those three teams to kind of form this team? And if so, that's a great combination, and that could be dangerous for a lot of people moving forward.
Well, when they're playing their best basketball and when they're hitting shots, and that's really the big thing for them. If the shots are going down, and against Northwestern, they went down in the first half. The second half, they didn't shoot the ball that well. But when they're making shots, they'll draw defense out on them, and they'll try to run them off the 3-point line. That opens up the post-entry pass for Kofi Cockburn. And when he gets the ball down low, he's just so hard to defend. Most teams just foul him. He actually gets fouled on just about every time he touches the ball. And if you ask Brad Underwood about that, he's gotten that from the officials. Officials have told him they could call a foul every time, but they're hard to guard because of that inside out offense that they can run. And Kofi is a lot better passing, out of the double team than he has been in the past. He's quick to recognize when the double team is coming, and he kicks it back out to Plummer or Frazier or Granderson. And if they're making threes, they're one of the toughest teams to defend in college basketball.
I mean, you talked about, and we're going to start with the big man, because you've covered a lot of Illinois teams. And as I said, we have never had anyone like a Kofi Cockburn, and that includes me. I mean, he is a horse of a different color. His development has been amazing, not just his free throw shooting, and as you mentioned, his passing ability, but his footwork and all of those things that come along with making you a top player. What have you seen as someone that has covered Illinois over the years with his development?
Well, he's the best big man, not just covering. I've covered Illinois now. This is my 11th season, but going way back when I first started watching Illinois basketball as a kid, or listening to him on the radio with Lauren Tate in my bedroom when I'm a little kid. I don't remember a big man this good, And I think the thing about
I might take a little. I think that we're different, but I might have to push back on that a little bit.
A center. Let's say a center. I mean, I played the 5, but you're more power forward. So
agreed. I was just kidding with you. Go ahead.
I haven't seen a guy like him. Of course, now they haven't had a 7-footer like him with that big body. Yeah. Hardly anybody had. LSU had one, but not too many teams have had that kind of player. I think the big thing with Kofi is his work ethic, and him. He's got such a great dynamic personality. He's really coachable. He's the kind of guy that coaches dream of. He never seems to have a bad day. I think he got a little frustrated against Northwestern in the second half with all the fouls, but he works his butt off. He's gotten great coaching from Antigua, who left to go to Kentucky, and now with Jeff, guys working with the big men and teaching them that footwork, and his confidence is up. When you threw him the ball as a freshman, I think he would try to bully his way to the hoop a lot, and his footwork really wasn't the greatest. Now he's got an up and under, he's got a drop step, he throws it back out to the shooters on the perimeter. He's just all around. What I'm shocked about is that NBA scouts don't have him on their board all that much. And I guess that's because they want guys like MB who can shoot the 3 ball and face up. But he's an old school big guy, and a great personality. I've often compared his personality to Magic Johnson. To go back to way back to 1979, he always has a smile on his face and seems to just love playing basketball.
Yeah, I love that. And you like me, I think a large portion of that is, like you said, the NBA game has changed. The NBA game has shifted. The big guys that are now in the NBA, can do multiple things, but they can definitely stretch the floor and shoot the basketball. Where I think the NBA guys are missing out is the fact that this kid has been playing basketball for a very limited amount of time. So there's a lot that he still has to offer, and there's a lot that those guys, if they had him up there, that they could work on. And I think that's part of it. They're saying, okay, well, if we don't have to draft him and spend guaranteed money on it, we'll still be able to get him and bring him in and sign him, and then it costs them a lot less. And I think that's probably the thinking more so than anything else. I do not agree with it. And personally, I hope the young fella comes back. I hope he gets and breaks my record and sucks up a bunch of this NIL money that's out there for him now. But you mentioned shooters. What was I think everyone is surprised at Alfonso Plummer and his ability that he has shown since he's been here to knock down the shots.
Well, everyone's surprised except for Brad Underwood, because he told us in the preseason that this kid's going to be one of the best shooters in the country. The thing that's so amazing about him, for a guy that's only about 6'6'1", he can get his shot off on a good day. Yes, in high heels, but he can get his shot off against anybody with very little space. And when he's dribbling the ball, he's got his eye on the defender. If that defender falls asleep for just a split second and falls back, he'll raise up for the shot. And he's got great elevation on his shot. The release is really the key, because if he can get airborne and get over top the defender, the release is the same, whether he's falling back or falling to the side or whatever. It's always the same release. And when he shoots the ball, you feel like it's going to go down. And when he misses, you're surprised. But he is one of the best shooters in college basketball. Definitely, probably the best 3-point shooter in the Big Ten. A real weapon. And one thing I'd really love to see, Deon, is when teams do run him off the 3-point line and they put a longer defender on him, I'd like to see him drive more, because he gets to the line. When he gets to the free throw line, he shoots 90% from the free throw line. I missed a couple in the last game, but if he can get to the basket and get fouled, I mean, that's an automatic 2 points usually. He's when he has drove into the basket, he looks good doing it. He can finish above guys. He's crafty with the way he finishes around the rim. So that's something that he might have to do going down the stretch here, and then in the Big Ten tournament, and ultimately in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, because a lot of teams have really concentrated, like you said, on running him off the 3-point line. He has shown that ability to be able to get that high kiss off of the top of the backboard, especially when he's going left. So we know he has that ability, and he's definitely not just a shooter. This kid's a scorer. And I'm agree with you. I love his elevation on his shot, and man, does it look like it's going in every single time. Another kid that has shown, which we knew he could shoot. We knew he had that X factor, because he was always doing some of those, he was always doing the right things at the right time to really help the team, is Jacob Granderson. And he has his improvement from last year to this year, in my opinion, has been stellar. And I think he adds a very needed punch to that Illinois starting five because of his size.
Yeah, first watching him this year, you're surprised to see how confident he was in the jumper. And he's got such a quick release. It's hard to close on him. Especially when he catches the ball around the top of the key on either side. He's got that quick release. I think right now he's kind of in a mini shooting slump. I think he was 0 for 7 in the last game and didn't shoot that well in the previous game. But he just keeps on letting it fly. I think he's got that confidence about him that he's going to keep shooting. And I asked Brad Underwood about that, in the post game against Northwestern. He said he's not worried about Jake's scoring. He think he's going to come back and he's going to shoot the ball well. But I think everybody on this team has improved defensively, and they really needed to. And Granderson, he's not a guy that's real twitchy, Not real, he's not real quick side to side laterally, but he's smart defensively. He knows what he can and can't do. He doesn't try to get right in somebody's chest to defend him. He gives them a little bit of cushion. So, he's improved at just about every aspect of the game.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I love Jake. I love when he's out there on the court and the things that he brings. I would like to see him just a little bit more physical, but you can't get everything in every package. But in this package, I love what I have. I mean, you talking about love what we have, or I've said love what we have. We got a kid, man, and I don't think he gets enough notoriety. When he came here as a freshman under John Gross, stayed here, of course, when Coach Underwood came. I believe, and Coach has said that he is what this Illini team is supposed to be about, or what Coach wants it to be about. And you talk about that everyday mentality, that every guy, a guy mentality, being able to step up, play through injury. He was a huge offensive player coming out of high school. Took a step back when Ayo Dosunmu hit campus and became only the best on-ball defender in the Big Ten and one of the best in the country. Trent Frazier has been amazing throughout his career as he continues to climb the all-time charts. What have you seen, Doug? I know my opinion. I'd love to hear yours.
It's just growth and maturity. If you remember when Trent first got here, he was kind of a naive young guy. He liked to have a lot of fun outside of the game, but he accepted being Robin to Ayo's Batman, and he went out and made himself into a great on the ball defender, and that's where he really impacted the game the most last year when they had Ayo, and this year he took it. You don't see a fifth year guy take a big positive step, but this year he's a point guard. And he does those point guard things. He facilitates. He keeps the offense moving. He brings the ball down. He handles pressure. I think in the past, ball pressure was a little tough on him, and he'd be a little bit loose with the ball. But he's a lot better this year. He keeps the ball lower, and he never complains. He just goes about his business every single day and comes to the gym and gets it done. Never wants out of the game. And, if you ask him, he never gets tired. Okay, well, I mean, you're playing 40 minutes. You're getting a little bit tired, but he doesn't want to ever come out of the game. That's just the kind of kid that he is.
I've seen this kid, and we've had him on the post game a couple of times, and literally in his 5 years that I've been covering on the radio, he's come out of the game one time and said, "Whew, I'm tired." I've never seen anyone like that. I would have loved to have had him on my team. And playing like that. But, you talked about his development at the point guard position. His assist to turnover ratio, especially in this last 5 games, has been sick. And that was one of the question marks, was if he would be able to play point guard, and he's shown it. Coach is comfortable with him. I mean, even when Bello is on the court, you got Bello kind of playing the 2 at times, and Trent still playing the point guard. What does that look like when Bello is at full strength? Because we all know El Mago is magnificent with the basketball. I mean, he had me last week doing the ESPN song on the radio, da-na-na, da-na-na, when he took the ball through his legs and made a great assist. When we get that together, Doug, what's your thoughts of the heights of where this team could be?
Well, if Curbelo gets back to being Curbelo that we saw last year, they're going to be one of the favored teams to at least make it to the Elite Eight. They still don't have a lot of size in the backcourt. I think that's maybe a problem defensively. But if they can get Curbelo back rolling, and Plummer is shooting the ball well, and Trent's being Trent, they can be a really tough out in the NCAA tournament. With Curbelo, I think playing him off the ball, I think was a designed thing to try to dial him back a little bit. I mean, I'm talking about Curbelo, because he can get outside of the system a little bit and start freelance and get a little bit out of control and turn it over. I think he had 3 or 4 turnovers against Northwestern and not that many minutes. But there's no defender in college basketball that can stay in front of him when he has his mind on getting to the basket. He's extremely quick first step, and then he knows how to change speeds and get guys off balance. he'll make a fake and cut one way and just drives by guys. And then the key for him, of course, is finishing. When he can get in the lane and shoot that little 7-footer, he's got the great elevation, just like Alfonso Plummer, and he can shoot over anybody. If he can make that shot consistently and finish around the rim, he's just a really, really difficult guy to stop. I think that's why you saw a lot of the preseason magazines had him on the All Big Ten team.
Yeah, and unfortunately, due to injury, he missed a ton of games. I don't think he'll reach that potential as far as the All-American, preseason All-American, and preseason All Big Ten stuff. But I don't care about that. I just want this kid to continue to get better, continue to grow back into the game, really be able to find that flow. Because like I know, we've had him and Kofi on the floor a very limited amount of time together due to various situations, but one of the things you mentioned, and I think was immensely important and showed itself last year, was the size at the guard position. Trent's a great on-ball defender, but let's be serious, he's shorter. One of the things in the adjustments I think has been really good for us is DeMonte at 6'3", 6'4" can step in and guard that position. Coleman Hawkins at 6'10" has shown the ability to be able to step out and guard perimeter players and even some guards. But the addition of our freshmen, in particular, RJ Melendez at 6'7", to be able to defend guys that are smaller than him has really been a plus. And even Luke Goody, like you mentioned with Granderson, who's not the most fleet of foot, but he is so head smart on how to cut guys off. Do you think that'll be something? And I know my answer, but I want to hear, the guys that also watch from the sideline. Is that a remedy to some of those L's that we had last year, like when we ran up against, to be honest, Loyola or any of those teams that we're going to face moving forward?
Illinois doesn't turn teams over all that much, and that's one of the big reasons why they get stops on defense, but they don't necessarily turn teams over and get a lot of points off of turnovers. And that length is the main reason, because they do defend hard. But they just don't get the hands in the passing lanes to stop the freedom of movement like you would with a longer guy. And yeah, the recruiting these guys was by design. Brad Underwood talks about it all the time, about adding length to the wing. And they got those kind of players in this freshman class, and they got a couple of the same kind of guys in the next class, in the 22 class, when they went out and got Ty Rogers, another long guy who can play on the wing or play inside and move. So it's definitely by design from Coach Underwood to add that length to the backcourt.
Before we move on to the next topic, let me tell you guys a little bit about our partners over at Bet Rivers Sportsbook. If you haven't signed up yet with Bet Rivers, now's the time, because they are offering a $250 match bonus for your first deposit. But what sets them apart is that they require just one playthrough to turn your bonus into cash money. With their new Rush Pay Instant Approval, withdrawing your winnings is safer, more secure, and more reliable. With basketball season in full swing, get in on the action by going to betrivers.com today or by downloading the BetRivers iOS app. You must be 21 years or older to play. If you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Yeah, and those guys are doing nothing but steadily getting better and better. I mean, RJ Melendez was lights out the last game. And, of course, we've seen Luke Goody come in and do a lot of things. And looking at these three freshmen, and I love to – and I know you cover recruiting, so I definitely want to get in and talk about the recruiting of next year's class. But this year's class and this year's group of freshmen have been amazing. And their growth has been something that I believe has added depth to this team that could take them a long way. I mean, even Potts has really improved on the defensive end. You could see the wheels turning, and you could see him learning, because I always thought that he would be the one that may have the slowest development moving up to this level, simply because of where he played in Wisconsin. You're not playing against super high level or athletic guys on a daily basis. That jump to the Big Ten was big. But the growth of those three freshmen together have really been something that I believe has propelled this Illinois team to the heights where they are at the top of the Big Ten. And I say that because, and I want Illini Nation to understand what I'm saying, these guys aren't getting a lot of minutes on the court. But when you're in practice every day and you're having to go up against bigger, taller, longer guys that can stay in front of you as well as score the basketball, it helps you from all around. What do you see when you look at those three guys and how they fit into this team? And what do you think their overall value has been so far this year?
Well, if you look at the analytics, and Illinois has, outside of Gonzaga, they have the most efficient starting five in college basketball, according to the analytics. So the downside of that is that the bench, you have to get something out of the bench. And Brad Underwood likes to substitute early in the game and get guys an early blow, and then usually the starters play down the stretch. But what really strikes me about these three freshmen, Deon, is their confidence. You don't see any fear in their eyes at all. These three kids, that may be something that Coach Underwood and his staff instills in practice. But he's not afraid to put them in game situations. Podziemski made that a huge three. I think it was at Northwestern, right? Then Melendez,
it was.
And they don't win the game against Northwestern at home without RJ Melendez.
Agreed.
What he brings is he's different than anybody else on the roster because of his size and athleticism and ability to slash. They've got shooters and they got Kofi inside, but they don't really have a slasher, and that's the kind of guy he is. He can get the ball and put the ball on the floor, dribble to his spot, and rise up for a shot. He can run in transition. His defense has really improved a lot. And when they first put him in the game early in the season, he got abused quite a bit defensively. His head was kind of spinning a little bit, but he's much better now defensively. And Underwood's been putting him on the other team's best player, in short stints. Not for big minutes, but for short stints. He's been covering some really tough guys to defend. So really love him a lot. Luke Goody is such a heady player. He seems to just do everything right in terms of his shot selection, his passing. I think he's underrated as a passer. He can see the whole court, makes some good passes. And then Podziemski, I was like you, I didn't expect a ton out of him, but he's more athletic than I thought he was. He can really get above the rim and finish. He's another kid with a lot of confidence. And then when he's not rushed, and I think he gets rushed sometimes with a shot, but when he has a chance to set up and be a spot up shooter, he's a knockdown 3-point shooter. So I love those three. You got to stack classes a little bit because those three don't bring all the qualities that you're going to need for your team. You're going to need a point guard, and they got that in Jaden Epps coming in. But those three are a good start. And if you add a big man and a point guard to them, the future looks pretty bright for Illinois.
And you nailed it right on the head. You have led me right into my next question for you. You take this year's class, and you talked about some length on the wings and at size. So you're adding Ty Rodgers at 6'6", 6'7" to come in next year. You add Jaden Epps at 6'1", 6'2", still probably growing. You add Sincere Harris at 6'3", that long, kind of reminds me of a Luther Head type player that can really get out there and shoots the ball. And of course, all three of those guys shoot the ball well. And then you add probably one of the most underrated, skilled big men in Dane Danger. You're stacking classes, as you said. How does this all come together? And I know you're not the coach. As smart as you are, Doug, you're not the coach. But how do you see all of this coming together, especially if you can keep Kofi? You bring back Jacob Granderson will have another year that if he decides to come back, then you got Jake there. Coleman Hawkins, of course, if everyone stays. This is a championship level roster in a really short time in this Brad Underwood regime.
Yeah, they're going to be able to compete with just about anybody. You'd love to see Kofi Cockburn come back, obviously, and give Dane Danger kind of that bridge year to get accustomed to everything. I saw him on the bench last game. He looks like he still needs to get his body fixed a little bit, get in better shape. But he is very skilled. He's different than Kofi. He's not a traditional post player. He can score inside, and he's got good footwork inside. But he's more of a guy who can drive the ball and shoot mid-range jump shots. But the thing about the 2022 class, when Underwood first got here, they had to just go out and try to get players who would come to Illinois, and after those down years, but now he's in. I think Coach Edwards in a position where he can get Brad Underwood type of players, and he did that in this 22 class. All three kids, and when I talk about Brad Underwood type of players, I know and I know what I'm talking about, but he wants the hard-nosed kids that are going to punch you in the mouth, not literally, but he wants versatile guys.
Hey, I'll take a literally every once in a while, Doug. You know what area I come from, man. I will take one every once in a while.
But he likes those guys who bring it every day, play hard, are versatile, will defend, and that's these three players are all that type of player. I saw Ty Rogers with the Mean Streets program last spring and summer, and that's a loaded team with Cam Kraft and AJ Casey, and the kid is going to North Carolina, whose name escapes me. But and I came away from it thinking that Ty Rogers was the best guy on the team. It was going to be the best college player on the team. He was the emotional leader. He could do just about everything. He can shoot the ball, drive the ball. He's a tremendous offensive rebounder, and just love him. But that's the thing about these three is Underwood's got to really be smiling, because these are three kids that come out of that mold that he likes on his team.
I know nationally they have this team, this recruiting class at 19 in the Big Ten. It's 4, and when I was coaching, I would often see Tom Izzo out recruiting, and he and I would talk, and I would always ask Coach about the type of players you look at, whether you go after the highly ranked players or you go after the guys that fit your system. You nailed it right on the head. Coach Underwood has gone out and got 3 guys that fit his system, on top of 3 guys, I believe, with Pods and RJ and of course with Luke, that fit his system. And you're really going to start to see that Brad Underwood system, a modified system from what he was doing previously, but has really taken charge and learned what these guys are doing. You mentioned Dane Danger and his game. I love what he's going to bring to the table. With Dane, could you imagine if Kofi comes back? You got Dane with his skill level, his ability to be able to pass the ball. I don't look at him playing kind of that Kofi role. I look at him playing more of a Georgi Bajanishvili role and being able to stretch the floor because he can shoot the ball from outside. Now you add a really athletic Omar Payne with another year in this system, another year of getting stronger, under Fletch. And you mentioned Dane's body. Man, we got the best strength and conditioning coach in the country. I am not worried about his body as long as he puts in the work, especially on the diet. But now you got 3 guys with a guy that, and I'll add Coleman Hawkins to that can play some of that stretch 4, that can really move the ball, pass the ball, skilled, to one of the biggest, most dominant guy in college basketball. And then you turn around and you switch modes to one of the most athletic and springy guys in the Big Ten and in the country. How does that inside look like next year, man? Whew, I got goosebumps just thinking about it.
I know coaches will tell you that this day and age, the shots around the rim are not just about posting up. In fact, the post up might be the least efficient, depending on who you have. It's not inefficient when it's Kofi Cockburn. He's very efficient when he catches the ball inside, but overall, post ups are not as efficient as driving the basketball. So if you're getting those big guys, you can catch it, in the short corner or at the elbow and put it on the floor for a couple of dribbles and get to the rim that way. That really gives you some more freedom of movement in your offense. Underwood has said he loves it when his team looks like an NBA team in the way that they execute, and that's the kind of team that you're going to have if you have those kind of big men who can put it on the floor. But I think also the recruiting of the big men is indicative in how hard it is to get skilled big men out of the high school ranks. There's not a lot of those kids that come along. The ones that do are headed to the Kentuckys and the Dukes of the world, and they're just tough to come by. So going to the portal was a necessity for Illinois, and I think they got a good one in Dane Danger. Omar Payne, I don't really see Omar Payne as a 30 minutes a game kind of guy. He's more of a guy that comes in and gives you energy defensively, gets a few dunks. His offensive game is not quite there. You'd like to see him develop a jump hook or something with both hands, and maybe be able to shoot 7-footers. But that's just not who he is. He's a defensive minded type of player. So I don't know if I see him in the starting lineup, but he's going to be a contributor.
Oh no, I don't see him in the starting lineup, but I do know, and this is one of the things, Florida did this kid a disservice. They did not help him develop and get better. This is what he's going to get with Jeff Alexander and definitely with Tim Anderson. He'll develop those things, but as long as Kofi's here, he is definitely not going to be a 30-minute guy. He'll be in there playing behind the big guy. But when you add a Dane Danger to that and his ability to score and pass and get others involved, I think that three-headed monster in college basketball is going to be real tough. So I agree with you 100% on what you said. Tough game tonight, though, man. Tough game tonight. What do you see that we need to do, or Illinois needs to do, to make sure they walk out of the rack with a win?
Well, you don't want their three big scorers to beat you, so I think you have to try to rattle them a little bit, keep them off balance. They did that with Ron Harper Jr. in the last game, so it's going to be interesting. Coleman Hawkins guarded him, but Coleman's not going to be in the starting lineup, so it'll be interesting to see what defenders Coach Underwood throws at Ron Harper, and then I assume Trent Frazier will be checking Geo Baker, so look at that matchup, and then I think you can really get inside the head of Mulcahy and get him off balance and make him make negative plays. He averages almost 3 turnovers a game. That's top 10 in the Big Ten in turnovers. So, stopping those 3 guys, they got to get back to getting offensive rebounds and putbacks and get more, and get some more points, points off of offensive rebounds. They haven't been doing that a lot, not especially since Coleman Hawkins hasn't been in the starting lineup, because he's a really good offensive rebounder, and then they got to make threes. This team, you look at the stats, and Rutgers teams are shooting the ball from 3 against them, and they're shooting at a pretty high clip. They're not a great 3-point defensive team, and if Plummer can get going, and I think they're going to need one of those games where Trent Frazier is rolling downhill and gets on fire, and that he's capable of that, and when his shot is going in, he gets so much confidence in it that it just seems like every shot's going to drop. So they got to shoot the ball well. I'd like to see Jacob Granderson get back on track shooting the ball from 3 as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. Those guys are going to have to knock down shots. The big fella's going to have to continue to play like the big fella. Hopefully they'll allow him and Omarui to play tonight, because I like that young kid, man. I think Omarui has brought some things and has improved his game so much. But when you're going up against a mountain of a man like Kofi Cockburn, you kind of get overshadowed a little bit. So moving forward, big guy, of course, we got some really good games ahead of us. We got Ohio State. We got Michigan, of course. We have Penn State coming up. As you said, we got a favorable schedule at home. We're a half a game ahead of Wisconsin right now. We don't have to see them again this year. What does Illinois have to do to solidify this regular season Big Ten championship?
But I look at Purdue and their schedule, because Wisconsin to me is they've got a great record, but to me they're not. Purdue is the team to beat for the conference championship. They're hard to defend with the size inside and the multiple scorers, and Jaden Ivey who's a bucket getter. You can just give him the ball, get out of the way, and he can get buckets for you. A lot like Io DeSumo did for Illinois last year. But they probably need to go 4-1 down the stretch for an outright Big Ten title. It depends on what the other teams do. But Purdue's got they're at Wisconsin, they're at Michigan State, a couple of tough games. They play Rutgers as well, but they play them at home in West Lafayette. But the schedules are pretty even. Illinois has the advantage, I think, because they got 3 at home and Purdue's got 3 on the road. So, if they can finish 4-1 in the last 5 games, they got a great shot for a regular season title.
Well, there you go. We got to get it done, big dog. There's no room for letdown here. And this is the joy of the Big Ten. Ladies and gents, this is one of the things I like to do, Doug, as we close it out and wrap it up. I like to give my guests the last minute You get to address the Illini Nation any way you'd like. Nothing negative, of course, or I had to jump through the phone on you. No, but seriously, this last minute is yours, big guy. What you got for him?
Well, first I'd like to plug our site. Of course, we're the Illinois site on the Rivals Network, which is a family of college sports websites owned by Yahoo Sports. Go to www.illinois.rivals.com or orangeandbluenews.com. And also, I want to plug outside basketballs. We've got a great podcast with, I don't know if you know Keith from the football team. He's the defensive lineman. He's doing a podcast for us with an NIL deal once a month, and he gets guys in there like Isaiah Williams has been on, Shimon Cooper has been on, and our guy Alec Bussey is producing the podcast, and it's just pretty awesome to see these guys sitting around talking sports in Keith's apartment. So a pretty cool thing. But as far as the Illini go, is stick with them. Even because if you're only watching Illinois, you get the feeling that they're an up and down team and they can come out cold and they can have off shooting nights, but that's everybody in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
If you watch a lot of Big Ten basketball, Purdue lost to Rutgers, so anybody can beat anybody. Maryland beat Illinois, and they're 12th in the Big Ten. So there's a lot of good basketball teams, a lot of good basketball coaches. This time of year, scouting plays such a huge role in how games progress and the pace of the game. It gets to be a grind. It's a lot harder to figure out how to get shots because these coaches are smart. They look at the tape and they know how to scout teams. But stick with them, because I think when they get on a neutral court against a team outside the Big Ten in the NCAA tournament, they got a great shot to make a long run in March.
Doug Buchson, ladies and gents. Doug, I appreciate you coming on and joining me, man. I hope you had a great time. Well, what I also going to do, I have a gift for you. So make sure when we're offline, whether it's text or whatever, you send me your shirt size. I had a sponsor, Orange and Brew, in Downers Grove, Illinois, that were nice enough to cover some shirts for me for Champagne on Ice. So I want to make sure I get you a shirt. So shoot me that shirt size so I can get it to you ASAP. And all I'm going to ask is that you take a picture, put it on your social media page. Speaking of social media, let Illini Nation know how to find you. I'm sure a lot of them do and have, but put it out there so they can, those that don't will know how to find you.
Sure. Well, on Facebook, we're just Illinois Athletics at Orange and Blue News. On Twitter, my handle is @Illinois Rivals, so really easy to remember. Or you can just key in my name, Doug Buchson, and my account will pop up. We're always tweeting all day, all the stories that we're putting up. Our focus is largely on recruiting, but we cover games too. So we got a really great game preview on the front page right now. And I'll let the cat out of the bag. I predicted Illinois to win 73-71 tonight. So
hey,
you can hold.
I'll take it.
You can hold me to that. But @Illinois Rivals is my Twitter handle. Give me a follow. And thanks for letting me plug that, Deon.
Anytime, brother. And Illini Nation, appreciate you for joining us. Be sure to follow and like the Field of 68 Media. I don't know why I get tongue twisted every time I say it, because those guys are what makes Champagne on Ice go. They have been able to. We started last year. We're going to keep this train rolling. And also, my partner is over at Bet River Sportsbook. If you haven't followed them, go on and follow them. They have brought Champagne on Ice to you as well. So I appreciate both of my partners. And love, peace, and hair grease, Illini Nation. Love you. Cheer on the Illini tonight as we beat up on the Scarlet Knights or whatever their name is. I don't really care.